On this week's episode of Keeping It Real, Cam Marston tells us about spotting a redfish in a tidal pool on the North Carolina coast and all he's done to try to catch another one.
The luckiest and unluckiest thing that ever happened to me happened at the same time. Sitting on a North Carolina beach last summer, something in the shallow tidal pool caught my eye. It was a large fish with a spot at its tail, a redfish. I ran inside, grabbed my fishing rod, stepped into the knee-deep water, and caught 2 beautiful redfish in 3 perfect casts. I was on fire. A crowd gathered around me. A guy said he wanted the next one and left to turn on his grill. People were filming it and taking pictures of their children holding the fish. And I was convinced that I was the best fisherman in all the world. I haven't caught another one since, and believe me, I've tried. I've cast my line, and this is a conservative estimate, I've cast my line 75,000 million times since. I've developed tennis elbow from so much casting. Nothing. When my luck first faltered, I figured my lures needed to be closer to the bottom. So I bought lures that dove and took special care to let them hug the bottom but not get into the sand. Nothing. That shallow water was so clear, I watched the fish turn to go after the lure, then turn away when they got close. They didn't want it. So I raised the lure a bit higher in the water using a lure called a Johnson Sprite. They'll like that. Same thing. Fish turned toward it, but turned away when they got close. So I went higher still with a topwater bait. I've heard of redfish hitting topwater, but I've never seen it. Nothing. It had now been 6 days and time to return to Mobile, and I've since spent the last 358 days figuring out what would work when I returned this summer. And that visit ended this past Saturday. New lures, a rebuilt reel, new fishing line, a fish attractant scent that's applied to the lure, new polarized sunglasses, new fishing clothes, and an attitude of pending success. There were redfish all around me. I could see them. Nothing. I watched them swim over, under, and around my lure as I teased it through the water. So I turned my efforts higher still. I prayed, God, grant me a redfish. It seems reasonable. Nothing. So I emailed Marie Laveau's voodoo shop in New Orleans for a fishing charm, but their website's down, preventing them from taking credit cards, so they couldn't help me. Most importantly, I cast my line, and cast, hours each day, ignoring family, neglecting food, sun cooking my arms and neck. The only thing my lures have ever caught was me walking down the Bass Pro Shop fishing aisle. And I'm already thinking about next year, and wondering if catching those 2 dang fish on those 3 dang casts wasn't the unluckiest thing that's ever happened to me. I'm Cam Marston, just trying to keep it real.
To hear more commentaries, search for Keeping It Real with Cam Marston on your favorite podcast app, or follow Cam Marston on social media.